Hey everybody, today on Political Access we're going to take a look at some more political shifts. This time it's going to be in the US House from 2016 to 2022. If you want to skip ahead to the map, there'll be a link down below in the description. Otherwise, we're going to go through all these states and take a look at the data. Now, this is just comparing the statewide popular vote for the US House. Certain things can skew the results because some districts have the candidate running unopposed. Some of them have third-party or independent candidates. There's not much I could do about that. I just take the statewide popular vote for comparison. States that only have one congressional district, if it's an independent candidate, I will substitute that out for the Democrat or the Republican. But other than that, I've got my usual spreadsheet here. It's not the sexiest thing, but it does have all the numbers. And in the first column, we have the states. The next column is the 2016 statewide popular vote for the Democrats in the U.S. House. The next column is the statewide popular vote for the Republicans in the U.S. House. Jump ahead to the Democratic vote in 2022, followed by the Republican vote in 2022. The next column are the Democratic shifts between those two elections, followed by the Republican shifts. And the last column is the net change between the two parties between the two elections. And I also have some shading here. The darkest colors are going to be 10 or more point shifts. The very lightest colors, those are going to be under 5-point shifts, and I took most of this data from Wikipedia. Sometimes there were conflicting numbers, but let's hope it all works out anyway. So comparing these two elections on a glance, both mildly Republican years in the House. So having said that, let's get started here in Alabama. In 2016, the Democrats got 32.9% of the statewide popular vote. The Republicans got 64.7%. Jump ahead to 2022. Democrats sank down to 23.7%. Republicans, they bumped it up to 70.1%. That's a net loss of 9.2% for the Democrats, a net gain of 5.4% for the Republicans, and a total net shift of 14.6% away from the Democrats and toward the Republicans. Again, keep in mind, some of the districts may have candidates that ran unopposed or against a third party. So now we see how this works. Let's quickly go through the rest of these states. Alaska, that shifted hard toward the Democrats by 24.3%. Arizona went toward the Republicans by 5.7%. Arkansas, that had the biggest shift toward the Democrats out of all the states by 24.4%. California, mild shift toward the left by 1.7%. Colorado, double-digit blue shift by 13.6%. Connecticut went in the opposite direction, 10.9% toward the Republicans. Delaware, mild shift toward the Republicans by 2%. Florida had a modest shift of 9.2% toward the right. Georgia, big shift toward the left by 16%. Hawaii, back toward the Republicans by a big 20.7%. Idaho had a smaller shift toward the right by 1.7%. Illinois, 4.5% toward the Democrats. Indiana, 6.4% toward the GOP. Iowa also toward the GOP by 3.2%. Kansas had a solid blue shift there by 17.7%. Kentucky just under 10%, 9.9% toward the Democrats. Louisiana, and even 5% toward the Republicans. Maine went 12.2% toward the Democrats. Maryland, 5.2% toward the Democrats. Massachusetts had a big lurch toward the Republicans by 25%. Michigan got 3.3% bluer. Minnesota got 1.5% redder. Mississippi went 9.4% toward the Republicans. Missouri, very little change there, a 0.5 point toward the right. Montana, 3.1% toward the Republicans. Nebraska, back toward the Democrats by 15.3%. Nevada, 4.4% back toward the Republicans. New Hampshire, 7% toward the Democrats. New Jersey had a minimal shift toward the Democrats by 1.4%. New Mexico got a shade redder by 1.8%. New York had a decent swing toward the right by 15.5%. North Carolina, a little bit of a blue shift there by 2.3%. North Dakota, that's a state with only one representative. In 2022, it was a Republican up against an independent. Just to make it easy, we'll just pretend she's a Democrat. And if that's the case, it went 20.8% toward the Democrats. Ohio got a little bit bluer by 3.6%. Oklahoma, even bluer by 6.8%. Oregon shifted back toward the Republicans by 7.1%. Pennsylvania got 3% bluer. Rhode Island, that had a shift toward the GOP of 13.8%. South Carolina as well by 14.4%. South Dakota had a Libertarian candidate on the ballot instead of a Democrat in 2022. But again, to make it simple, that ended up being a 26.6% shift toward the Republicans. Tennessee went 1.9% toward the Republicans. Texas had no shift whatsoever. Both parties gained 1.6% in 2022. Third-party support dropped off. So there's no change in Texas. Utah had very little change, 0.9% toward the Democrats. Vermont had the biggest shift of all, and a lot of that was because in 2016, there was no Republican opponent. It was a third-party candidate. So to make it easy, we're going to say they were a Republican, and that would have shifted a staggering 45.9% toward the Republicans. Virginia got a little bit bluer by 2.9, Washington as well by 5.6, West Virginia, that got redder by 2.3, Wisconsin had a big shift toward the Republicans by 19.4, and the last state is Wyoming, and that went 11.8 away from the Democrats and toward the Republicans. And then here's the national popular vote. Republicans won it by 1.1 in 2016. They won it by 2.7 in 2022. That comes out to a net shift of 1.6 for the Republicans. So those are all the states and all of the shifts. And as always, we can do one more thing with this data. We can apply it to a map to help visualize the changes. And here it is. It's the same basic shading. The darkest colors are 10 or more point shifts. The very lightest colors this time are under 1 point shifts. And we'll say those are the tilt margins. Those would be Utah and Missouri. So that will come out to 4 levels of shading. Texas has no change, so I left it alone. I also have the shading for Nebraska and Maine's congressional districts. Nebraska's third shifted hard toward the Democrats because in 2016, the Republican ran unopposed. So then in 2022, that's going to result in a massive shift toward the left. So I've said it before, some of the data can be skewed that had no opposition or third-party independent candidates. But aside from that, if you look at it as a whole, there's a lot of different colors across a lot of different states. Plenty of states you wouldn't think of went toward the left. Plenty of them went toward the right. It's really a mixed bag across the entire country. The main thing we know in 2022 is Republicans did underperform in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Those had a little bit of a blue shift from 2016. And then, of course, New York and Florida, Republicans had solid gains in those 2 states. The rest of it, as I said, is completely scattered. Both parties should have things to celebrate and to worry about. I don't want to draw too many distinct conclusions. Republicans did better in the Northeast. Democrats did better in Nebraska, Kansas, Arkansas, but that might be anecdotal enough to not really be of consequence, so I'm going to just leave it there for now. Hope you enjoyed the data. A lot of different colors on this map. Hopefully there's no mistakes. Some of the data was conflicting, but this is what I came up with. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of the shifts in any of these states? Let me know any of your thoughts down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.